folks, welcome to another acquisitions and culls video. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, don't you normally do these separately? Well, on this occasion, I didn't actually cull anything in July. Although technically one of these 4 games will be getting culled very soon, so maybe you can count that, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, there wasn't really any culls in July, so I can only really talk about acquisitions, and of course I don't do review copy, so pretty much all the acquisitions I've got here were from the UK Games Expo, because I didn't really buy anything during July. I mainly got review copies, and it wasn't until the expo when I decided, yeah, you know what, I'll buy a few of these games from my own pocket. So without further ado, let me tell you about what I got. Firstly, very briefly, shall we say, Caper. I have no idea if I'll like this game or not. I've literally bought this on a gamble, and mainly because Z Garcia keeps raving about this one as one of his favourite 2-player games. Now, it's a drafting 2-player game. Apparently, you are playing thieves and equipping them in order to do heists. Okay, that theme sounds pretty cool already. I have no idea how it plays. It's got a seal of excellence in the dice tower, which certainly gets me intrigued. But yeah, to be honest, in history, Z Garcia has actually been pretty good when it comes to like identifying small games for me. Those little small games that people don't talk about as much that actually turn out to be pretty sweet. Generally, I've followed him quite closely on these because the majority of the time it's like, yeah, this is actually a nice little solid gem. You know, I'm glad I've got this now. I'm curious whether he's mentioned this one actually, in fact, but we'll get on to that later. But Caper, yeah, I've literally just put on a gamble. It didn't cost me very much at the time. I think it was on sale on the Sunday because copies were not flying off the shelf on that one. There was like loads of them there. Grabbed it from Zatu, and yeah, I just figured, why not? I had no idea if it's any good or not. 2-player drafting, that, yeah, 2-player only, may hurt it a bit, but then I do have some 2-player games, you know, in my collection. You know, the really good ones stick around. But I'm very keen to get this one to the table. I don't know exactly when, but I'll be sure to put up on social media what my thoughts are when I get it played. But yeah, Caper. If you know what it's like and you think I've got something to look forward to, leave some thoughts in the comments. I would like to know what you have to say on the matter. Okay. Well, I suppose while on the subject of small games, why don't we tackle this one? This one I can actually give you a decent review on, actually. The Fox in the Forest Duet. Now, there are 2 versions of this. One of them doesn't have Duet in the title and is a competitive trick-taking game. This one is a trick-taking game, but it's co-op. You and your partner. I bought this because for ages and ages, I've wanted to try this one. I hear about these small games, as I say, like Caper was another one, where I'm like, oh, they sound good, but when am I going to get these small games to the table? Also the 2-player only ones, again, 2-player. I thought, well, am I ever going to get it played? But I thought, for like just over a tenner, I thought, come on, I've got to try this because it sounds up my street, and I actually like trick-taking as a mechanic. Granted, it doesn't make for the most thematic games ever, but then games like The Crew worked with trick-taking, and you know what, I fancied another trick-taking game. So this one is a very straightforward game where the 2 of you have to get all these gems off a little forest board that you have in between you, and the components are pretty basic, so this isn't exactly stellar quality, but essentially you have a little board. I don't know if you'll be able to see it that well at this distance, but basically they'll have these gem tokens on there, and you have to get them off the board as a pair. Okay, straightforward. You have a little path in the middle where a marker is, and you will direct this marker backwards and forwards along the path to the various spots where the gems are. If you go too far, part of it gets blocked off, and if it gets blocked off too much, you lose the game. And you have 3 rounds to do it in. At the end of each round, some of them will come back, some of the gems, that is. But the way the trick-taking works is pretty much like you know from a trick-taking game. You have got cards numbered from 1 to 9, some of them with special abilities and some of them not. 3 suits. There is a card face-up that tells you what trump suit there is, and I think the suit, what are the suits here? We've got doves, stars, and roses by the looks of it. And there are some cards that do little special abilities like can augment the movement value, can lead with any card, can exchange a card with the trump card, can exchange a card with your fellow player. And the idea is that you can't communicate with each other about tactics and strategy, but each of you will play a trick card in order to influence where that marker goes. If you win the trick, it comes back in your direction, but it goes as far as the number of paw prints printed on the cards. And so as a pair, you're trying to direct this marker in the right direction, but also the right distance. And the more efficient you are with it, the more kind of in sync you are with your partner, the quicker you'll get the gems off. But there's varying levels of difficulty, and we did it, let's see, I mean, I've played a few games of this on the easiest difficulty, and I think I lost once, The rest of the time we won, mostly in the third round. So that was like the easiest difficulty level. I'm guarantee if you put this up to higher difficulty levels, you're going to be in for like a bit of a harder game. But I found this to be really charming. I mean, it's not like stellar components or anything, although I do like the simplicity of the cards, and I do love the very nice artwork that's on some of these. I wish there was the same kind of artwork on all the cards, but seriously, these are some of the best looking foxes I've ever seen on a picture, I'll give you that. And yeah, I just found this really charming. Not difficult. This is like your ideal game for, let's say you're a gamer and you want to get your spouse into gaming, and you're looking for a light two-player game that you can teach your spouse. This is about as perfect as it gets. Co-op, trick-taking, which they might have already played before with like a deck of cards in their lives, and very simple, very light and very charming. This is, for a tenner, this is a steal purchase. I don't know what the competitive one's like, I wouldn't mind trying that as well, but this is staying in the collection. I don't care if I don't get to play it for a while, because should ever I find a spouse who's into gaming, or even not into gaming in fact, this is definitely going to be up my street. So yeah, Fox in the Forest Duet, recommended. This one, a bit more than that. The only reason I bought this is because A, I'm trying to try out some more of Queen Games' stuff, and it was like stupidly cheap. I mean, it was £20 at first, and then on the Sunday it got cut in half to tenner. I figured for a big box game, for a tenner, even if I hate it the guts, I'll get my money's worth out of it in plays. So I figured, why not? This is called Bastille. And the idea with this is that this is a beige Euro, pretty much in every way, shape or form. But it's a worker placement game where you are basically just, well, what do you expect? Trying to get the most points. But the worker placement in this is a little bit more interesting because you have this huge, pretty decent sized board. I mean, it's not difficult to see what's what. And you're using these markers, if I can get some out. These little markers here, these shields from numbered 1 to 4, you start off with a bunch of 1s and 2s, and you can upgrade them as the game goes on, and basically you just plonk them out on the various spots to say, I want to do this particular action. Draw a card, put a cube in a bag, you know, upgrade my tokens, get a little bonus, whatever. I mean, it is a beige, themeless Euro at the end of the day. But the cool thing is that the rank of your influence marker dictates whether you go first on the action, which is very important, and also if there's a tie, if you go there first, you break the tie. So there's quite a lot of tension for worker spots in this. I mean, it is worker placement at the end of the day. The bonuses are just basically getting cards with various people from the French Revolution on there and equipping them with weapons so you don't lose negative points. Money so that you can get these various people. Bonus cards so that you can score at the end of the game. I mean, it is very beige, very dry. And I thought the game was fine overall. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was overly special either. I mean, this is kind of quite a forgettable game. But my good buddy Hilmar taught us it while we were there, which was handy because there was no way I was going to just pick it up and learn it straight at the convention. And I was glad to have played it. And I'll probably play it a couple more times, but I have a feeling this one probably will hit a cull pile pretty soon. Hence when I was saying I bought one and I'll probably cull it, because for a tenner, not like I'm losing out on money really. But I don't think this would be a keeper per se, but I thought it was okay. I mean, it did the job. It was a fairly tense worker placement game. We played the rule wrong with the bonus cards, which I thought was a problem at first, and then when we found out what the actual rule was, it's like, okay, that solves that, not a problem. The one thing that did irk me a bit, though, was this bag. There's one action where you have to put cubes in a bag, and at the end of an interim scoring phase, you draw them out one by one, and that's a meeple, that's not a good idea. Where's the cubes? Come on, cube. Hello, cube. You draw a cube out, and depending on whose colour it is, they get a bonus, and they can be a big or small bonus, depending whether they take them out of the bag permanently or not. This I just found to be this unnecessary swingy thing in the midst of a game that's already pretty tense and not exactly that lucky either. You know, the characters that come out are for everybody to see. You can look through the whole bonus card deck to get those bonus cards. You don't have to worry about drawing one that was wrong. That was the rule we got incorrect at the first time, and I thought, oh, that's just luck of the draw. Oh, you can search for the whole deck. Okay, that's better. But everything else here is relatively, you know, tactical and strategic with a good amount of spaces. So it just hurts a bit to have this stupid bag building element, which is entirely luck driven. Doesn't matter how many cubes you shove in it. Yeah, the odds might be in your favor, but you still might not get enough of your cubes drawn. And the bonuses you can get, particularly in the end game phase, can absolutely change the whole course of the end game scoring. And I just found this is the biggest problem I have with it. But I can't house rule it. I don't know how I would house rule this bag. You can't take it out of the game. It's too fundamental a part. But then do you reduce the bonuses? I don't know. It's not something I want to have to deal with in this game. And I have to admit, it's it's almost a bit of a killer for the game, because the game is fine. It would be a generally fine worker placement game otherwise, and it does not take longer than about an hour, which is pretty good, so it's a decent length. But yeah, that bag is just very, very swingy. I don't know. I'm going to give it a couple more plays and see, but yeah, the likelihood of hanging on to this one is fairly slim, but for a tenner, I think I've got my money's worth when I've done these plays, and at least I'm glad to have played it. I just think if you cut that bag out, this would have actually been a half-decent, solid, you know, talked about Queen game, but, you know, nobody talks about this one apart from a couple of people. It was on clearance, nobody was buying it, and even on a tenner, you know, well, actually, to be fair, I didn't give it long when I saw it was on a tenner. I went there on the Sunday morning, saw it, cut it in half, and went, yoink. It's like that's what I tend to do at conventions. I don't tend to buy anything unless it's, like, a really important thing I need until the last day, because I like to see the cut prices and then go, grab a bargain there, or something. A bit like what I did with these ones. So yeah, Bastille. It's fine. I recommend if you're into a kind of beige, dry Euro and you want a very tense worker placement game and maybe that bag element doesn't bother you, give this one a shot, because it's actually not a bad game. Not a bad game. Right, this was a bit of an impulse buy though, and I blame my mate Russell for this one, who helps out with the Queen Games UK lot. I blame him, because he basically got me into this. Not the game, I already have played Snowdonia, and I think it's a decent game. I've even played with Alabari, a nice cup of tea, and I thought that was a pretty decent game. But this one I thought, do I really want to buy this, you know, this whole master set? You know, I mean, yeah, you're thinking like, look, it's a train game. Why do you even have a train game? And it's like, it's not really a train game per se. Yes, you're building a train track, but you could be building a road. You could be building a tunnel. You could be building anything, really. It wouldn't make too much difference. Yes, I'm not exactly jumping on this theme of building a train track, but I like a lot of the mechanical elements of this game. The worker placement, very tense, very important. I love the weather system in this. The weather system is my favorite aspect, where, like, depending whether it's sunny, cloudy, or rainy, affects the actions that you do. I think that's brilliant, and I wish more games incorporated this. The contract cards are cool because they're endgame scoring, but also a potential bonus ability you can use. I like the trains that you can get because they can give you a bonus and that. And, you know, I found the game to be decent, if maybe a bit long for what it was, and of course, not exactly the most immersive theme. But this was being sold by, I believe, Tony and his wife, actually. I think that's who were there. And it was being sold for £70, inclusive. And that was including a Isle of Man, or whatever it is, Isle of Man expansion, which is essentially like the 19th scenario expansion. And it had all the errata cards in it, because apparently there was quite a lot of errata cards in there. It was like 30 plus odd errata cards. So it gave me the complete set up to date with all the rules corrections done. And for £70, I thought that was a good deal, especially when I looked at the stuff that was in here. Now, I can't get the whole thing out because I haven't got time on this video to do a full unboxing or anything, but for £70, this is a good set of stuff. They had it all on show, and as I was being explained about the variety, I mean, you've got an absolute ton of cards, of which I've put dividers in. I'm not sleeving all this, I can tell you that much. But you've, so that's a spares box, so I don't need to worry too much about that. But then, you know, you've got all these rule books with the, like, different scenarios you can do. There's so much content in this game, it's ridiculous. A board where the train track can be set up around the outside of it, so you don't have to do that weird thing where it's set up outside of the board. But then you get these game trays with lots of custom pieces, and some of these are giant wooden pieces, like screen printed goat meeples and they only work in like 1 or 2 scenarios. There's a Yeti miniature in here, I don't even know what that's for. There's a couple of Emperor guards, there's coffin miniatures for the Necropolis Railway. You know, I am a novice when it comes to this game, so I have no idea what half of these scenarios are supposed to do for me, but there is a lot of stuff in here, and that £70 price tag I thought was pretty sweet. So I was kind of there, and I thought, do I, don't I? I don't think I'll get a better deal than this. And I just went, yeah, all right, yeah, you've done it. I mean, they were such nice people there. She was such a charming lady who was like explaining everything to me, and they were very passionate about it, and I remember this being a good game, so I figured I wanted to maybe like get stuck into it a bit more. Obviously, I'm not gonna, you know, be doing like all the different scenarios that you possibly can for this, but to have that element of choice is a good thing. So yeah, I'll be keen to see how this one does. I don't expect this one to get a ton of plays per se until I'm au fait with the rules, and I certainly would like to play the solo and see what it's a bit like there, because maybe this could be a fun solo game for me. But yeah, let me know in the comments on that one actually. I already know what it's kind of like base game wise, but let me know what it's like with these extra scenarios. Are there any that are your favourites? Was the solo mode any good? Is it something that I should tackle sooner rather than later compared to the multiplayer? We'll see. But yeah, those are the 4 games that I acquired in July. I think I've bought some more games this month though, so come September time, there should be a proper acquisitions video and culls video. This one's kind of a combination just to incorporate a potential cull and 4 acquisitions, because July wasn't the biggest month in terms of me buying stuff. But yeah, that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple video. If you like what you see, then please leave a thumbs up and a comment if you can. It means the world to me to know that you appreciate this content that I put out. Don't forget that the video is sponsored by zatu.co.uk, and if you want to check out more content on the channel, I've done 2 videos dedicated to one of my favourite light deck building games, Runestones. You can check out the detail review, and you can check out the Beyond the Base Game review where I talk about the expansions. That's it for me. Take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Bye for now.